on TV. Hey, welcome back to the MWOD. We are at CrossFit South Brooklyn. David Osario. We're going to work on a piece tonight. A few months ago, our man was riding his bike, minding his own business in New York. Of course, New York's a dangerous place to live, but he was attacked by a street vampire, and he ended up, what happened?
I got cut off by a car, flipped over, and I tore my bike chain over my left shoulder, crashed right into my clavicle, 2 clean breaks.
What's a clavicle?
What's a clavicle? It's a kind of a bone right here. It's kind of
Oh, bone in the front of your neck. That's right. Don't be technical. You elitist snob bourgeois guy. I can't take it. Okay? So, no, he's wearing pixie pants. It's not true. Okay, so take a look, all right? Is that a fixed gear over there? Wait a minute. All right, so take a look here, okay? So we were talking about this. This is 4 months ago. You are working out, snatching, jerking. Well, no problem. What's the one thing you have? Not jerking.
Not jerking.
What's the one thing you can't do?
Front rack of bar.
Can you show us? No, I mean, just go ahead and show us in the position. And what happens when you do that?
It's just pain. I feel it right on the metal.
Metal on metal. I can see how that would not feel good. So here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to think about how can we buy him some slack to these tissues. We've got hardware in the shoulder. Maybe there's not a lot we can do, but maybe we can give some slack and feed some capacity forward. And so let's see if we could just work on the front rack position. Sound good? Mm-hmm. I'm going to hand this over. Try not to put your hand over the microphone like my wife does all the time. I'm just kidding. You never do that, baby. Okay. So first thing is, what are some of the restrictions of the tissues in here? And from just a basic perspective is that if I touch him in a professional, not creepy way, I can rub my hand over, and you'll notice that he has really good movement of the skin over the bone. And remember, that as we work on sliding surfaces, we want to make sure that he's not tacked down anywhere. And he's not fully tattooed. Oh, he is tacked down. Oh, wait. That's Shiva. It's Kali. But you can see that the skin slides well, and that's one of the very first things we do after wounds heals. We want to make sure that the skin isn't basically glued down. The scar tissues go right through and basically create nails. So that's working well. Some of the other things we can do, though, is that because he broke here, he's going to create a bucket load of scar tissue right up and around this area, and he can't help it. Right? That's just one of the things. So the subclavius, all of the pec minor, all of these businesses get tight and short and ropey, right? How's that feel?
Yeah, not good.
It's almost like it was going to be tight there, right? So if you're going to take him down the street, yeah, right there. So let's get him doing something in here, and let's go ahead and bias that corner a little bit. So what I'm going to have you do is lay on your stomach. We're going to put the ball right into your man boob, in your chesticle. But this time, put your hand behind your back. And so it's an internal rotation, which is going to wind up the front of the chest here. And then he's going to just see if he can get some pressure into that ball. You don't have to look straight at the ground like you're ashamed. And then he's just going to roll back and forth through that and unglue those tissues. If he finds a spot, he can hang out. He can take some big breaths in there. Did I say breaths? I meant breath. Right? And then if I'm a really good friend, I can do the wushu punch, the tit punch from the other side, and just get some pressure. And he's going to roll, and one of the things we're doing right now is actually catching that first rib a little bit. And so making sure that that whole rib, which is a system that wraps around from basically here, we're probably on the second rib, all the way down underneath that clavicle, is articulating well. So as we start to think about this problem, we're going to, very first thing is get him here, ungluing him. How do I buy slack forward? So he spends a minute or so doing that. Then I'd absolutely want to flip over. And this is, I don't know, what is this kind of ball? Jugs?
Cage ball.
There you go. It actually says jugs. Did you steal this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, on your back. I would never condone that. Could steal a mobilization ball? Like there's a kid in China who doesn't have this now. Thanks. Okay, so we're going to just get that first rib mob again. Get him propped up and think about ungluing. One of the things that happens is when we have a trauma, we tend to focus and fixate on the immediate damage. And so everyone's like, oh, you have collarbone cancer right there. It's sticking out through the skin. And then we all focus and fixate on that. But think about the trauma that a kind of full-grown, strong CrossFitter has to go through in order to actually break his clavicle. He's not some anemic cyclist. Or maybe you are. You were a fixie on a fixed gear. But it's fine. Neither here nor there. But the idea is that when he does that, he disrupts a lot of system all the way up and through here. All of the joints and soft tissues around the shoulder can get smoked. So in this, you guys saw this last night. We got him ungluing and working on the whole piece. One of the pieces, so when he could lift your butt up really hard, drive that ball into the first rib, and then he could spend some time working on these corners where that rib may not be working a little bit, and maybe acting like a strut to kind of limit his motion. The second thing that happens is that you need a lot of extra rotation power in this front rack. And come sit up for us real quick. one of the things that happens is that you can get stiff through this lower thoracic. And we usually tend to focus on this position, especially when we're overhead. But a lot of the positioners that are responsible for external rotating keep the scapula back. And so I would have him focus a lot of time on this lower piece, kind of much further down, maybe like T8, T9, T10 in that area, right? And then go ahead and just move yourself into the front rack, come across, horizontally abduct, come back and forth. And the same thing, and because I'm a good buddy, I can get over in him, and I can actually make sure that those ribs, see, he's making the pain face, I found something, right? And making sure that those ribs, it's like CPR, and I'm not quite on his man pec, right? I'm a little bit lower, I'm just gonna try to go through, but he can be rolling back and forth on this, trying to think about getting the rib and the tissues right around. As soon as he gets a little work done, he can move around. Okay, so that's one of the areas I'd be focusing on. Come on, back up. Just for a second, go ahead and see it. Better, same, worse? Good. Is it better, same, or worse? Same?
Feel the same.
There we go. Sometimes we make change, sometimes we don't. Absolutely, I want to get him opening up the pec in this area. This is where, if you think about the kind of the collarbone break and where it gets tight and what's going to go on, it's easy to open him up. And so I was driving the car the other day and I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice, instead of doing the pec stretch on the ground where you end up in the douchebag shoulder position, right? That doesn't help anyone, right? What if I could keep the shoulder back? And I concocted this idea where you could get your arm through. And you see how that shoulder stayed back now? And then I can just actually rotate and open up that shoulder and hit those pecs in some nice and neat ways. Give that a try. And if you can make the sound effects, it's even better. Oh, I didn't skydive down. Too bad. What's the matter, fat boy? You getting pulled off the ground? Got that pushing too many pencils? Right, so bend the arm up a little bit. And so this, obviously, he needs a mini band, not a double black like I do. But now, the shoulder's staying back, and then he can rotate through and just try to arm bar himself. And because he's got a little tension, keeps that shoulder back in a better position, and ends up giving him a little bit more of acute stretch through those tissues. And you feel that?
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense? Okay, so I would try that. One nice way to kind of bias that pec business. And the obvious piece is also thinking about working on this front rack. And one of the easiest ways to spend some time there is in the front rack position. Can we get your front rack? Hook your hand through, and grab it, and then go ahead and turn it up. So even in this position, he can just hang out. And if he starts to feel his pain, I want him to stop before he feels his pain. And as a friend, I'm going to go ahead and actually rotate him a little bit, right? So I work on that position. I have him stop right before he gets to the pain and then contract there. And when you have people who have acute injuries like this, you stop them before they have the orthopedic discomfort. Do a little contract and then relax. Contract, relax. And then as soon as he feels available, he can come back into a position a little bit more, right? But by stopping right before and contracting, he can kind of do some mental mapping, you get the brain, and then we can kind of ready those tissues for that position. Is that feeling okay? Or are you feeling your pain?
No pain.
No pain. Not Tom. It's all right. So now, the other thing we're thinking is, what are this obvious soft tissue pieces here? So we've done we're working on some muscle stuff. We've got the joint we're working on. And then obviously some of the soft tissue pieces, he could continue with that ball through this tricep and in this area, especially in some of the subscap stuff that may be limiting that position. So I've just got him an extra rotation here. He's keeping the rib cage down. He hasn't violated any of that midline stabilization principle. And you get an idea. Now, because I've already wound him up here, let's see if we can tie that neck into something. So we forget about the neck, but it's easy for him to take his hand, put it on your hat, and pull over. Because that scap is pulled back, it really gets nicely into this levator here. Always thinking if you're working on this upper shoulder, you can always tie the neck in, because he's going to be tight and short through here. Can't help it. He had big trauma. But we tend to focus on the problem. You can't do anything about the problem except ice, take your fish oil, eat your protein, deadlift heavy, comma. Right? What are the ways we can do to get slack to the system? Make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? That's how we solve the problem. Go give these things a try tonight. See where you go. We'll see you tomorrow. Cross to South Brooklyn. Thanks, man. Brilliant.